It's time for Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the television show and podcast dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. This is your opportunity to participate in making the world better. So without further ado, let's get ready for Straight Talk Live with your host Edna Howell-Parrish.
Welcome everyone to the show. I'm Edna. It is a pleasure to be here today, to have you here, to hear this special program. Someone here to tell their life-transforming story. And you know, when people share their stories, it gives other people an opportunity to motivate them, and perhaps they'll share their stories, and maybe God's looking for them, and maybe they may answer. Welcome to the show. Be sure to like the show. Be sure to share. Be sure to tell others about the show today, especially those who may have at one time been incarcerated. Maybe they didn't know what their life was going to be like. And maybe, just maybe, they listened to God when he was calling them. Our guest today is Sterling Titus of Dayton, Ohio, a reentry program coordinator at the Montgomery County Office of Reentry. Welcome, Titus.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. Titus's life-transforming story, Sterling's life-transforming story. He says God's grace and mercy is unending. What do you know about God's grace and mercy being unending?
Well, I'm sitting here talking to you, aren't I?
Amen. I answer
the
yes.
truth of the matter is, I shouldn't be. I could probably take up this whole hour of shows of telling you all of the reasons why I should not be here. All the things that have happened in my life that says I shouldn't be here, but yet here I am. I have had brushes with death through more than one means. And again, it goes back to your question. I'm still here. It's never ending. My life at one time was so chaotic and disrupted and dysfunctional that I just literally thought I was going to die that way. I thought I would die from either my lifestyle or an overdose, of which I've survived two, or just kind of wasting away.
Our guest today says sometimes people need to know that restoring your life is possible. What do you know about having to restore your life? What happened that caused you to want to restore your life?
Well, that question is so open. I'd have to say the first time I thought that I could change my life was when I started my journey of recovery from heroin and cocaine, alcohol, just substances, drugs and alcohol. And that journey started the last time I was in prison. It was my third time. It was thankfully, my last time. And that is only because God put me in a position God helped me make some right decisions, or just let me know that he was still there for me. And that he would walk with me if I reached my hand back out to him. And so I started my recovery in prison. The catalyst for that was my mother becoming injured while I was in jail, and she was going into my apartment to get something for me, as I recall, and she was robbed, and subsequently they broke her leg. This is at that time, fairly elderly, very petite woman who put up no resistance, and it was just kind of heinous and unnecessary that that someone would break her leg and harm her in that manner. And when they broke her leg, it broke my spirit.
Let's talk about broken spirits. Let's go back to when you lived a life that was a life of maybe young, careless, reckless. What were you doing out there that caused you to get involved in cocaine, drugs, alcohol? Because I understand that you say that you have been 37 years almost free of alcohol and drugs. What were you doing out there in the streets that caused you to even become incarcerated?
Well, I was a criminal. I called myself, I was selling drugs. At one time, I even was robbing just about anything, a store or a person or anything at the end of a gun. And for a while before I got, my lifestyle was really nice. I mean, the messages I was getting was, you can live like this. You don't have to go to work. All you have to do is hustle and get out here in these streets. And my life for a very not that long of a period, but a good enough period was. I'm sorry, sometimes when I see these pictures, I thought I could hustle. I subsequently became addicted to the drugs that I was selling. And it's, there's a thing called progression to the disease of alcohol and drug addiction. And it is a disease. That is without dispute. And I have the disease. I still have it despite having not used for such a long period of time. I still have the disease of addiction. And that's ever encompassing. It spreads across beyond drugs and alcohol. Once my addiction manifested itself to the extent of desperation, of not caring about what happened to me or anyone around me, then I would do just about anything without care. And so I caught my first prison number in 1982, and it was a federal prison number, and I was sent to Lexington, Kentucky, for a 2.5-year sentence. Now, don't get it wrong. It's not like the system said, "Hey, they caught me, and we're going to send you straight to prison." I did have opportunities. I was on probation. I was given probation more than once. I was given probation on top of probation. I just had a very, very hard head. I didn't care. I got to a point of not caring. And so I ended up in prison, and I didn't learn the lessons that I was supposed to learn during that incarceration. They sent me to a prison that really might as well not have been a prison at that time. It was actually a co-ed facility with male and female inmates together. We weren't housed together, but everything else, work, rec, anything else during the day, we were all together. It was I would term it a social experiment that failed miserably. It certainly failed me because I didn't get the message I was supposed to get from being incarcerated. Well, of course, I had to come back a couple more times, state prison sentences. My second sentence was actually both because I violated my terms of my parole on my federal. And despite all of this turmoil, despite all of this chaos, I didn't care. I just reached a point in my life where I just didn't care about myself. I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about anything. And thankfully, prayerfully, almost at the cost of my mother's life, I received the message of the opportunity for redemption. And I knew that fundamentally, I knew during that last number, the one that you're showing right now, that was me going in, that I knew I could not leave prison that person. I knew I could not leave prison the guy that came in. I knew that if I did, I would die for sure. And the tragedy in part was that I was taking my family, especially my mother, inside these walls with me every time I got locked up, every time I went through the system, every time I dragged her into court. All of these things, I'm actually stressing my mother. She had a bad heart, and I am stressing her to the point where I was probably going to lose her. And my biggest fear was losing my mother while I was locked up. That was the thing that finally got me to a point where I said, Father, help me. I don't know what to do. And through a very long, slow, turtle-like process, I started my process of change, and I started gravitating towards anything that, any programming that was there, any therapy that was there, anything I could hold on to or grab hold to that would help me get an understanding of why I was the way I was, and more importantly, how was I going to change that? So I didn't change in prison, but I did start my process of change. I started it, and fortunately for me, I sustained that momentum when I came home, and that was the ticket. That was the secret. That was the thing I never could do before. I kept it up. Even when I was in the shelter with no prospects of a job, no one would hire me. I finally got a job in a beer and wine drive-through, making $3.30 something an hour, which was minimum wage at that time in 1988. And this drive-through sat right up on Hoover and Gettysburg. There's a McDonald's there now. And I really, literally thought that was going to be my life. That was going to be the best that I could do, that no one was going to hire me, give me a real opportunity or a real job or see any value in me beyond going in and out of coolers and getting wine and beer and bringing it to people's cars when they drive through.
Right. Now, this picture is of you and your mom. Is this after you got out when you were doing the work at the beer and wine drive-through?
No, I was actually still incarcerated during this.
You
This
still
was
was
this was a visit.
right.
This was a visit. My mom surprised me and popped up on me in response to some letters. See, back then, this was before anybody knows anything about the system. Now you can just call almost at will. It's very inexpensive, as it should be. But back then, your phone calls were all collect, and they were very expensive. And so I saw a lot of people lose their telephones and just all kinds of things just behind accepting these phone calls. But my mom came to see me, and she came to encourage me. She wanted to look me in my eye and see if all these things that I was putting on in these letters had any element of truth to them. She wanted to look me in my eye and see if that the son that she raised, that he was still in there somewhere. And I convinced her. And anyone, again, that knows anything about the system, you can see the cigarette hanging out my mom's hand. Of course, cigarettes have not been a part of the Department of Corrections for quite some time now,
Right.
where you can smoke. But that visit was so pivotal, pardon me, to my my hope and belief that maybe I could live a life that looked different from the one I had been living up to this point.
So you posted recently that it's been 37 years since you were released from prison. For what you say, you were thankful, you were grateful, and what it turned out to be was the last time that you were there in prison, 37 years ago. How has life changed for you since then?
I don't think you have enough time for me to really tell you all of the ways I actually have a life today. I'm privileged and honored to do some very important work. My life looks considerably different than it did when I was in the homeless shelter, when I essentially couldn't buy a job. I'm married. I've been married for quite a long time. I have a family. I have grandchildren. I have all of the elements of what looks like, albeit a normal life, whatever your definition of normal is. But certainly my definition of a normal life was way different from the abnormal life that I used to live when I was in the street, when I was on drugs, and when I was just basically a criminal or just not a very good person at all. I've been told, and almost on a daily basis, I receive a text or a message from someone that affirms what I believe is the reason why I was gifted to live the life that I have today. I am very humbled to be able to play a part in other people's transformations, in other people being able to say that their life is different, and other people being able to understand it and have a level of hope that their life is not going to stay like it is when they get involved with the justice system. Um, right now, we deal with people who are coming home after serving decades in prison, wondering, what am I going to do now that I have my freedom? Some of them. What am I going to do now that all my family is gone because I've outlived them? And I don't have anyone out here. So where I work at, we call ourselves small and mighty. There's just a few of us, and every one of the team that I work with this wonderful team. We all are like-minded when it comes to our mission statement of helping those who can't really help themselves right now or figure things out as far as their next move in life and what they're going to do and how they're going to restore themselves.
It's interesting because, the way you tell the story, it seems so simple that, you went to prison, you spent some time there, decided you want to come out, you want to do good. What was the hardest thing for you once you did get out and once you did make that decision? What did you hear from God that told you that you could do it, you could be somebody, you could be a success at whatever you wanted to do? And what was that process like? Did you start going to church? Was it about praying? What was the process?
Well, I started that process prior to my release, thank God, of engaging in my recovery, of going to church, of reconnecting with my higher power, who I call Jesus Christ. I'm going to read. I'll show you how God works. I'll give you an example. This morning's sermon, and I had not shared anything with my pastor about this interview or anything that was going on at that time, but it just so happened, it's not that long, but we started with Philippians 4, and this really summarizes a lot in response to your question. And it says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Jesus Christ. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And that was so on time. It was like he intuitively knew about this, but it also summarizes. It's a great response to the question that you answered, because that is where I was at the time, and that is what God did for me. Just reaffirmed that He never left me, but allowed me to go through what I went through in order to understand the power and the healing and the presence of the Lord, and how transforming that can be in anyone's life, because I'm not special. Far from it. Far from it.
Jesus chose you. He chose you. That's what he tells us. It's like he chose his disciples. The scripture tells that no one can come to me, that's what Jesus said, unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up the last day. That's in John 6:44. And He chose you. He chose me. You know, when I decided to listen to Jesus and listen and understand,
Amen.
he was always there. But there are people sometimes who think that life is so desperate for them that they don't have time for Jesus. But you took time and you made time. And so with your time, once you were out of incarceration, what did you do to get yourself back on track to become a reentry counselor, coordinator, and start working in the justice system to help those that were coming out of incarceration? How did that process work? What training did you have to do that?
Well, the training was my life experience for me, as for the most part. The lived experience is where it started. It was basically saying that yes, you could turn something negative into a positive. The process, it actually started with Judge Rice and former Commissioner Debbie Lieberman meeting back in 2002 or 3 about the recidivism epidemic in Montgomery County. And as a result of that meeting, the word reentry changed from the space shuttle, which when I talk about this, I have young people who are in the audience that don't even know what the space shuttle was. They don't even remember the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I have to explain the space shuttle and how when it was sent up into space, it had to come back. And that process of coming back was termed reentry. And the only reentry we had back then was rockets coming back from space.
Right.
So now the term means something totally, totally different. Reentry now means restoration. Reentry now means that they don't call us ex-convicts anymore. They call us returning citizens. Reentry now means that they don't call us inmates anymore. They call us incarcerated persons. Reentry now means that the community understands that most people are not bad people. That most of us who have made a bad decision somewhere along the line have the opportunity to correct that decision. We're not inherently evil. Now, are there people like that? Yes, of course there are. And some of these people should never be let out of prison. They should be there. They're right where they need to be. Right where they should be. But the majority of us, 98%, 97%, most of us should have the opportunity at redemption, are redeemable to begin with, and just need to have some direction, just need to have some hope. And then a blueprint. Now, one of the things that we can do, my personal process was, of course, in educating myself. My personal process was in being around the right people at the right time, and being fortunate enough to be involved long before. I mean, reentry is a big buzzword now. It's just, they're throwing a lot of money at it, as they should. But if you're in this for the money, I'll tell you right now, you won't last. You will you will not make it because there's not enough money, first of all. And the other part is, if your heart's not in this, I'm going to tell you right now, someone who's coming home from the justice system, they can see right through you, and they'll understand, and they'll know, oh no, you about this, you're not about helping me, and it's reciprocal and it's perpetual. When we help others, they in turn start helping others, and this cycle is so vast at this time that it's self-propelled. And this is what we want. This is what we need, because people are healing. One of the most inherent things about being incarcerated is the trauma that goes along with that experience. And if you don't acknowledge that, number one, it's not a weakness to acknowledge that, hey, I went through something that may have damaged me or at least has fractured me to a point where I need some healing and I need some help. And from that point, accept the help that's offered because it's out here. Heal yourself. Heal yourself. Grab that Bible and grab that person, that therapist, whoever that might be, and let someone help you get to a point of reconciliation and restoration in your mind where you know that you really can be a plus instead of a minus.
Our guest today is Sterling Titus, and as he gives his life-transforming story from prison to now himself working with people that have been formerly incarcerated, helping them to get back into society. How do you gain the trust of people who will say, I can trust him? Is he just pulling our leg? Is he just trying to get over? How do you get them to trust you?
Well, again, it goes back to you just be real. You just be yourself. You just be authentic and transparent. People know when you are about the right thing, when you're real, and they know when you're phony or when you are, one of my wife's favorite words that she heard me say, mush faking it. And they know because she never heard that before. What does that mean? What's mush faking? So I had to explain it to her. But especially someone who's coming out of adverse circumstances and situations, they can feel when someone is for real and when you're not. They can feel your authenticity. I'm gonna destroy that word because I can't pronounce it very well, but I live it. I live it every day. And it's evidenced by, I get messages almost every day. It doesn't matter if it's the weekend, doesn't matter if it's the evening. And it just fuels me because I woke up to one this morning. This young man, I hadn't heard from him, and I just reached out and said, "Hey, you doing okay? He's been working." Excuse me. And he finally responded, and he just let me know he was okay. That he's just trying to get used to working. He's trying to get used to his new commitment, his new path, and we've helped him sort out a lot of things in the beginning because he just did 30 years in prison. People coming home from something like that, this is like the Jetsons out here. We have everything but the flying cars. I mean, think about it. Anybody's ever seen that cartoon? And we're about to get those. So, hold on. Right? But it is phenomenal to be living in this world now. And I tell people coming home from prison or involvement in the justice system, because you can still be scarred. You don't necessarily have to go to prison to be scarred by collateral sanctions. And what that term means is when you are supposedly done with the justice system, they're not done with you, because there are laws on the books called collateral sanctions that say, to simplify it, if you've done this offense, you can't do this job. If you've done that offense, you can't do that job.
Okay.
If you've done this offense, you can't live here. If you've done that offense, you can't live there. And there is a lot going on now to change and rectify that. And this is where we come in. This is where and Montgomery County is one of the most progressive counties in the state for reentry for that reason. Because we press the envelope, we push hard for change. We push hard and I have to give it up. I know a lot of people will probably say, why would you? I don't know. Department of Corrections is doing a lot now. They're doing a lot. They're trying very, very hard because they understand that revolving door cannot continue to be a revolving door. Our society is not built that way. We need the folks that are coming home to get plugged in and be who they're supposed to be: returned citizens, restored citizens. That's why that term was embraced, because we are citizens again until we're not. And the only thing that determines that is our choices, our decisions, and what direction you decide to go in when you get home. But no one coming home now has the excuse of saying that there's nobody out here to help me. They don't have that excuse.
Are there more than one reentry program, in Montgomery County? And do they all operate and work together, or are they similar programs in the reentry programs?
Well, I'll use the term reentry initiatives. As far as reentry programs, we are funded by the county, Montgomery County, but we have a lot of support personnel. We have a lot of collaborators that we work with. So it's like an all hands on deck type of initiative. We have reentry councils, we have reentry programs, and there's reentry initiatives, and all of these things work together for one goal: to reduce recidivism in Montgomery County, to reduce recidivism in the state. Our office actually serves, due to an expansion grant from DRC, Department of Corrections. We now can also serve Miami, Dark, Greene, and Preble counties in addition to Montgomery County.
Did you go through the Montgomery County reentry program when you came home?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
So when you came home from being incarcerated, did you go through the program in Montgomery County?
I'm sorry for laughing because when I came home, there was no programs for ex-convicts. When I came home, no, ma'am. There was. Let me give you a timeline. There was no real initiatives until the beginning to mid 2000s, when second chance money or the federal government started throwing money or providing resources for recidivism. But at that time, things were so loose and so fractured and were not in any way cohesive, that the money was just not really being effective at all. But as far as any programming for someone like myself back in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, there was nothing. What did it for me, where I was very fortunate, is I started my recovery. And had I not been involved in AA and NA and the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, I would have had nothing. There would have just been nothing for me, other than, thankfully, my Lord Jesus Christ. But everybody if you don't know the Lord, or if you don't know how to reconnect, or that the Lord is there, then now you're really lost. You're just lost in the sauce. Churches at that time, a lot of churches, I'm gonna give you a history lesson. The only thing we had back in my day was C.J. McLean and a few folks like him who would actually listen to someone who just came home from prison, who would actually help someone who just came home from prison.
I'm taken aback. I guess so. When you left prison, they just gave you your few little things in your bag and just sent you on home, and you were on your own.
They gave you $75, a bus ticket, and a bye-bye. And the pervasive attitude at that time was, "We'll see you when you come back." That was what a CO told me the last time I left. One CO told me, "I'll see you when you get back."
See you when you get back.
When you come back. This is my third time leaving prison. Now, of course, he doesn't know me that specific, but he just had it like, he sees so many people come and go. He just says, "Oh, I'll see you when you come back." And that was the pervasive attitude back in that time when I came home in the late 80s, that, once a criminal, always a criminal. Once a dope fiend, always a dope fiend. Once a convict, always a convict.
And so you've been out 39 years, never went back, never got back involved in the heroin, the drugs and alcohol and that prison life. What made you decide that you wanted to help other people that have been incarcerated?
It was a blessing by virtue of being invited to be on the Montgomery County Reentry Task Force back in 2006. This was a 2-year task force to examine and look at recidivism and the justice system in Montgomery County, because Judge Rice, as I stated earlier, and Mr. Debbie Lieberman knew that we had an epidemic on our hands. You got the drug epidemic. You've always had epidemics with alcohol.
Right.
Now you've got an epidemic of people who shouldn't be ostracized and stigmatized and labeled, but are. And as a result of that, can't be productive. So they'll use the excuse, and I've done it myself. Well, guess what? Nobody's going to give me an opportunity. Of course, we don't say it this way, but nobody's going to give me a chance. Forget about it. I'll just go back to what I know. I'll go back to hustling. I'll go back to robbing. I'll go back to being a criminal. I am not going to starve out here in these streets. I still want to take care of my family. People are looking at me to provide, and y'all not going to give me that opportunity. I'll go back to what I know. And that had to be broken. That cycle has to be broken. So I was very, very blessed, along with a few others, folks that I've known for a very, very long time. Some I work with even now, Mr. Quinn Howard, who is the program manager. We go back to, because we've been beating this drum for a long time. Hey, give me a chance, give me a chance. Now it's give us a chance. Now it's give yourself a chance. Now it's give the community a chance. Because guess what? It's win. It's a win-win. You got people coming home who are skilled, who have skill sets, who have motivations, who have all of these things. And we've been throwing, well, they were throwing us, but we've been thrown to the side for all this time. And now, guess what? Employers are just, they love folks coming from our program, not because of anything so special we've done other than shining a light, helping tweak a few of them and develop them to the point where they can go to before the employer and say, guess what? I have something to offer you. Beyond.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, beyond, we've had some employers say that they would prefer hiring restored citizens than some of the folks out here who haven't been through some things or turned some corners, because some of them are just lazy or some of them just are entitled. Whereas you have someone that's coming out of prison or who's coming out of adverse circumstances, the gratitude alone will create enough momentum for them to be just a stellar employee.
Amazing. Thank God. But God,
But
so
God.
but God, I tell you. So now you are a reentry program coordinator at Montgomery County Office of Reentry, working with people who are coming out of being incarcerated, want to get back into life and do some progressive things and help people and help themselves, help their families. How responsive are they to your program? Is there like a certain percentage of people that actually go through the program and become successful?
Well, I'll give you some statistics. The recidivism rate in this country right now is 50%.
50%.
50%. Half of the people who are released back to the community in the United States go back to prison. And there's 650,000 thereabouts folks that are released from prison in this country every year. So the math's not hard. 50%, 325,000 thereabouts go back. So the technical definition of recidivism is returning back to prison within 3 years of being released with a new case. That's a tragedy right there. In Montgomery County, the recidivism rate is hovering around 32%, right around a third. Of the 18,000 people that are released back into Ohio, well, this is a statewide rather. Statewide, the statewide recidivism rate is around 32%. 18,000 folks are released back into the community from the Department of Corrections, Ohio, each year. So 6,000 folks out of that 18,000, and of course we're using round numbers,
yes,
go back to prison. Our recidivism rate, or we like to term it success rate, is 10%. And so far, the Reentry Career Alliance Academy, RCAA, We have served over 1,018 people, and out of that 1,018 people, only 10% have recidivated, have gone back.
People that are incarcerated, men and women, is there a particular crime that everybody seems to commit? Is it involved in drug dealing, drug selling? Is it crime, shooting, killing, prostitution? What do most people go to jail for, prison for?
That's kind of hard to answer. I mean, I do know fundamentally, there's the most crimes, a good high percentage of crimes, are drug related one way or another. They're not necessarily selling drugs, but they may have had alcohol or drugs somewhere in the mix, so to speak, of their life that caused them to do other types of crimes. So there's not really one pervasive crime or another. Your more violent crimes are going down statistically in this area. Most of your crimes are what we would call third, fourth, and fifth degree nonviolent offenders, and this is where we see that a lot of people, if they get in recovery like I did, they stop being a criminal. All right, if they get clean and sober, most, probably I'd say over 80%, there's some substance use involved in the crime, whether it's a crime of a property crime or a crime against another, or violent crime even. There's a substance involved. Alcohol is still the number one drug. People, I think, have a tendency to forget about that.
Amazing. So the reentry programs that do prisons have reentry programs before people get out? Do they help them with their education or vocational programming before they get out, or do they have to get out and then get involved in something like that with your program?
It's a very good question. The prisons are very progressive now in helping to develop. Sinclair Community College is in every prison in Ohio with degree programs, certificate programs, certification programs. There's not restrictions anywhere. There's a lot of restrictions on people going back to school. I got my GED in prison, and the one you just showed, that first one, it was just kind of ironic. I haven't seen that prison in 40 something years. And I just happened to be in Lexington, Kentucky a couple of weeks ago, and decided, I realized I'm virtually right around the corner from this prison. So I went and paid it a visit. Uh-huh. And
did you feel homesick?
Not in the least. It actually had the opposite effect on me. It was very, I didn't think it would affect me the way that it did when I pulled in that long driveway, but it did. And but I had this I just can't go on and on about how grateful I am, because I came up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I came of age in the 70s, that my life looks nothing like that anymore. My life is just the opposite of that today. And I actually go in and out of prison, just like the one guard told me. He says, "I'll see you when you get back." Well, guess what? I have been back, and I do go back, and I will probably go back to the day I die, doing one thing or another to help support somebody who's trying to come home. So back to your question, the Department of Corrections has a lot of they have their reentry programs. We all work together. I go into the prisons within myself through our program to meet with folks who are within 6 months of release that are coming back to one of the 5 counties that I spoke of earlier: Montgomery, Greene, Darke, Preble, or Miami counties. And we kind of start the ball rolling there, kind of let them know, number one, that we exist, and number two, that we're trying to create this seamless handoff between the Department of Corrections and us. So we work very well with them. The parole officers refer, our biggest referral source now when someone comes home, and DRC is very progressive in trying to create reentry initiatives and support for folks who are coming home. This is statewide. So I want to make sure that I'm still here.
I'm here. I
Okay.
want to know who pays for the program that they're in, the reentry program. Do they have to pay for that?
No, everything, all of this is at no cost to anyone coming home. There's even training programs now for. I'll give you one example. A big one is, of course, um, CDLs. If someone wants to make a career or get a job, a very decent paying job at that, of driving a truck, then there's money to pay for their CDLs. Nothing out of pocket for them, as long as they bring in the ability to learn and the motivation. They can be very, very successful. And that's just one example because it's such a big one. But no, there's no cost to. We provide lunch. We provide coffee. We provide whatever it is we think they need to remove barriers to successful reentry.
Wonderful. Motivation is the key for, I guess, thinking about you and the things that you've been involved in and that God has allowed you to go through. Not only are you the reentry program coordinator at Montgomery County Office of Reentry, there are several other people that do similar things like that. You are the CEO of another company. You tell us a little bit about that. You don't have to go into really details.
It's a property management. At one time, I went from being homeless to being a landlord. Um, so that's a company that right now is just, I don't do a lot with it because I don't have the time, but at one time, between jobs, that was my living. I was able to sustain myself uh, uh, through being able to own and manage some properties and some apartments.
You're on the board of trustees at Five Rivers Health Centers.
Yes.
They trust you. People like you. You have made a great presentation and a great example of what people can do when they really put themselves out there and say, I want to do something with my life. I want to help other people. You have earned your Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Administration at Indiana Wesley University.
We're still working on that, but yeah.
Still working on it, but you're still working on it, though. That's the main thing.
Yes, ma'am.
A certified peer recovery supporter. You've done that. Case manager, therapist, case manager, facilitator, a project manager. So much that you have been involved in. It just shows that you really put yourself out there. You extended yourself. Somebody trusted and believed in you. You said that when you were early on in your life that you were broke, you were homeless in a shelter with no one but your mother there to believe in you and to support you. Um, God's grace and mercy is unending, you say. And so I think that's really an amazing situation. And a lot of people don't have anybody, but then some people do, and they don't take advantage of it. So I don't know how you tell people about that. Do you tell them you can do it?
Well, I just best I show them. I'm, like I said, I'm very, very fortunate. I've been married now to my wonderful wife. We've actually been together this month. We'll make 28 years, but we've been married 21.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you. That's more.
We're going to meet her. We're going to meet her in just a few minutes too.
Well, hopefully she didn't fall asleep. I think she may have gone to La La Land. I'm not sure.
Oh, I hope not.
I'll have to try to reach out to her. I think she may have dozed off.
Yeah, we'll take a little break and let you reach out to her to see if you can get her in here. And we do have a picture of her as well. So how did you meet her? How did you meet your wife?
Well, that's a funny story. I actually met her kind of through her mom. We just happened to be at the same place at the same time at a dry cleaners one day, and her mom kind of introduced us because her mom was dating the guy that owned the dry cleaners, who I was pretty close to, and one thing led to another. Obviously, over a long period of time, we dated for 4 years, 5 years, and then we were engaged for almost 2, and then we got married, and in 2001, and we've been at it ever since.
That is so good. And I always see a lot of pictures of you and her together going out doing different things together, and y'all like to dress up and have a good time. So that's a good thing. I can see that
He likes
too.
to drag me around. I might be an accessory sometimes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, for people that are listening and are interested in the reentry program in Montgomery County, how would they do they get in touch with you, or where you located? Do they stop
Absolutely.
in or what?
Absolutely. We're located at the Montgomery County Job Center, which is at 111 South Edward C. Moses Boulevard. If someone does, most people don't know. And if you come into the Job Center, we actually have two offices there. We have our training center, and then we have our administrative office. And whichever one you happen to mosey into at first, the best is to reach us online. If you Google Montgomery County Reentry, then we will pop up very prominently with links and phone numbers, and but someone can call me. Yeah, that can be the starting point, or they can just walk in. We're here to help anyone that comes in. You don't have to have been incarcerated to get help from us. Just its involvement. Sometimes it has the same impact. Sometimes you can just be on probation and have some of these same barriers that someone who just came home from prison has. And the impact is the same to that person.
Do you think that, when your people are incarcerated, when they're in prison and jail, they pick up a lot of bad habits? Did you pick up any bad habits that were hard for you to break once
I
you
bring
came
in with
home?
my bad habits. It was
You
actually
went
just
in
the
with the
opposite.
habits.
It was I brought my bad habits in with me, and was able to start the process of getting away from those bad habits, including even cigarettes. I quit smoking cigarettes not right away, not when I quit using drugs and alcohol, but I was able to quit smoking cigarettes back in 1992. My mom passed in 91, and I'll just share this as a result of cigarette smoking. It had a profound effect on me because because of that, I started hating cigarettes, but I was addicted to them. It's another addiction. Nicotine is very addictive. It's just as addictive as heroin. And so
You
I went through.
hated them, but you
I
were
still smoke.
addicted.
Yeah. Well, I still smoke. Yeah. Well, that's the same. That's the same cycle with drugs and alcohol. You might not necessarily like drugs and alcohol, but when you're addicted, it's a disease, and it's a disease that has to be treated. And if it's not treated the right way, then you're going to struggle harder than you need to break those chains. And
So
so
is that part of the reentry process?
well, we are a link to any resource that anyone would need for whatever the issues are. So if someone does, I mean, we have partners that we work with. We have a full-time case manager on staff, even though we all function sometimes as de facto case managers if needed, but we do have a full-time case manager who is there to help with the housing and the food stamps and whatever it is. Once it's identified, we use a tool called a CARE plan, and CARE is an acronym for Community and Resource Engagement Plan, and it's basically a reentry plan. Once we capture that information and we know what help you need, then we get more specific about how to help you.
Who has the hardest time, men or women, when they come out?
Ooh, I would have to. We're starting to see more women go to our program because, of course, by nature of incarceration in the justice system, men are more pervasive and prevalent. But I think women have a harder time because women have different issues. They're usually the primary caregiver if there's any children involved. A lot of them may have been disconnected from their family, or their children are in the process or wanting to reconnect or get custody back. So there is, we have 6 subcommittees also. One of them is women in reentry, and that's specific, just like it says, women in reentry, to the issues and the barriers that women have when they are coming home from incarceration. We also have a wonderful another staff member, Miss January Newport, who is on our staff, who is just a phenomenal young lady, has lived experience like myself, and has done some incredible things in the last 11 years since she's been home. And if anyone that knows her story, you might want to have her on here next, actually, because she has a very compelling story, and it's of a different era. See, I came home in the 80s. Things were quite different. My colleague and my coworker, my friend, also my supervisor now, Mr. Howard, he came home. He wouldn't mind me sharing. He came home in the 90s. Again,
Wow.
a different set of issues, still there, still bad, but just different. Now, January came home 11 years ago, and things have progressed considerably since then.
Great. I would love to talk to her. So, you can pass the information along for me as well. I really would appreciate that. I'm going to take a break and let you go see if you can find your wife, wake her
My
up.
wife, I'll see if she hasn't snuck out on me.
Oh, she left.
No,
Oh,
I don't think so. I said if she has it, I don't think so. Hang on one moment.
okay. All right. So while Sterling is away, I want to let you know about spring. We know spring is here in full bloom, and the Edgemont Solar Garden Center. If you know anything about the Edgemont Solar Garden Center on Miami Chapel Road, you need to get over there. They really need volunteers to come up for this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and to help them with manicuring their garden beds and planting plants, peppering the space for a growing season. And they need help. And then on Thursdays, they're going to be at the Gym City Market this Thursday, Gym City Market on Salem Avenue. And they need people there to help them cook and prep meals for the Mother's Day fundraiser dinner. That's on Thursday. And then Saturday, May the 10th, from 11 until 5 at the Solar Garden Center. Support will be there for logistics for the bonfires and banquets. They need some help for that. So please go over to the Edgemont Garden Center, Solar Garden Center on Miami Chapel Road. They have the best collard greens. They have the best. They have beautiful flowers. They have tomatoes. They have plants. They have a lot of everything over there. So they're going to be our guests next Sunday on the show to talk about the Solar Garden Center. They're going out in the community, educating people about learning how to plant a garden. And they have so many wonderful programs. So we hope that you can get by there and help them out at the Edgemont Solar Garden Center on Miami Chapel Road, over there where the old GM plant used to be, over in Edgemont. And you'll just love being there. We just hope that you go over there and to support everybody at the Edgemont Solar Garden Center. They need volunteers. So if you don't know what you want to do, if you think you can plant, if you think you can help out, if you want to go over there and buy some fresh greens, they got food, flowers. And then again, like I said, on the Mother's Day weekend, on Saturday, May the 10th, they have a special program called Bonfires and Bouquets, bouquets rather. And they want you to come over and help them to greet their guests and help vendors and help clean up a little bit over there. So be sure to do that. Now we're back, Sterling. So introduce us to your person sitting next to you and tell us who they are and what they are about in your life.
Okay.
Well, this is my wife, Mrs. Robin T. Titus. And this is when I say better half, I mean it. She's my better half. And this has been my primary support person for many, 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 many years. And a lot of you, she's also famous. So a lot of people, you probably get more folks coming in now that she's on the air. So
Nice.
Hi, welcome to the show. Now, this is a picture here that Sterling was telling me about. Tell us about the picture and why you were presented with this information.
Okay, that is back in June 2019 at the Grotto Garden. And first of all, I want to thank you for having me. And I am very, very proud of my husband, and I'm happy to share a little bit of me, which is of course a part of him, with you all today. But that is my retirement ceremony, and that actual big box there is called a shadow box. And what we try to do when they present that on the actual ceremony, that was up at the Dayton VA in the Grotto Garden. I had a wonderful time there. A lot of my friends and past military retirees and members came out to support me. That is sort of like a snapshot, if you will, of my Navy career.
Well put.
So how many years did you spend in the Navy?
So a total of active duty, about 2.5 years, but the rest were reserve. And I did 27 total.
And where did you serve?
Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. I have served. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's a link available about me, and probably Sterling could probably put it in your chat or share with you later regarding the Veterans History Project through the federal government's website, and the History Project that has a lot of information about what I did and where I served. So we'll begin with Groton, Connecticut, beginning and then ending in Key West, Florida, and having gone to probably more than 12 different countries and served active duty special work. My specialty was professional development and training. I have an HR degree, and I utilized that in the Navy with my civilian career at the time, and shared all this great information in my civilian life, and, juggling two lives, military life and civilian life. So
I'm very proud of her too, as you can tell.
yeah, you are.
Well, you all are a beautiful couple, and I think that God has really put you all together for a special reason. Not just because you love one another, but you probably do God's work together well.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am. Yes,
Absolutely. She has a heart for her veterans, because she still works with veterans in a capacity that is so needed and kind of underserved, and so her heart is just as big for that as mine is for reentry and returning citizens.
Excellent. And so, where do you guys worship?
The Mount Pisgah Church, located in East Dayton, under the leadership of Bishop K. Edwin Bryant.
Excellent. I thank you, Sterling, for coming on the show, sharing with people about your life transforming story, what happened to you, how God chose you.
Absolutely.
To come out and to support other people. And you're saying that it's sometimes people that they don't tell their story, or they're ashamed if they've had everybody thinks they have a pristine past. None of us do. None of us have been perfect in our lives, but some people just don't share their stories. I don't know, but I think when you do like this, it lets other people know that they too can be involved, and that God, if they listen, because God's calling them, if they listen, they can make it too.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And that is the point where that is the point.
That's key.
I'm very honored that you felt like I had something to say on your show. I really appreciate being invited and being profiled. But it's not about us or me. It's about that person who is still struggling with the thoughts of trying to have something that looks like a life beyond the one that they have now. And there's so many broken people out there that are like that. We just want to let everyone know you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay in misery. You're not out there by yourself on a boat. There is help, and there's a lot of help, and there's a lot of needs out here. It's not just there's a lot of folks who have restored their lives who are also out here trying to help others. And we all work collectively together as a family. Sometimes folks come home, they have nothing left, no family. We're their family, and they know that. And it's an ongoing relationship. It's not a program that you come to and you're there for 3.5 weeks and there it is. No, this is an ongoing relationship that goes on years, and we sometimes compare ourselves to like a fraternity or brotherhood, because it's for life.
Indeed, indeed. Well, before we go, we're going to give you another chance to share with people, tell them where they can go if they need help, if they're looking for a job. Some people say there aren't any good jobs out there.
Oh, yeah,
Is
that's
that true or
plenty.
false?
No, there's plenty of jobs, and we have a job developer on staff, Mr. Ronnie Galati, who is phenomenal at helping those that want to work get plugged into some employment. So we are located again at the Job Center, Montgomery County Job Center at 111 South Edmund C. Moses Boulevard.
1133 or 3?
We actually have 2 addresses. We have both, 111 and 1133.
Is it 111
she's very
or
precise.
1111?
1111, yeah. And but my wife is very precise. So
yes.
But like I stated earlier, we have 2 locations. Either one that you wander into, you're going to get the same help, and you're going to see the same people, and you're going to get the same love.
Indeed. So by sharing the stories of others, it creates an opportunity that may motivate people like our guest, Mr. Titus, to decide for themselves after they hear from Jesus that, they're ready to go straight.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That going scared straight, is that going to help our kids? Because that's a passion that I have is for children. And, many of them are just, I don't know. Their kids are so lost today. I don't know. Parents.
Yes.
Part of our program is we also have a component where we work with the ERC. My wife actually used to work at our office too at one time, many years ago, as a volunteer coordinator. And one of her functions then, and we still do this now,
Evening Reporting
the
Center.
Evening Reporting Center, which are the youth that are on probation or on supervision in Montgomery County. And so one of our staff members also does that too. But yeah, you're right. Frederick Douglass has this wonderful quote that I like, that it's so much easier to support children than to mend broken men or try to repair broken men. And so, but we have to do whatever we can.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of people out there involved in the reentry program, and people that are involved in working with our children and to stop the violence, stop the shooting and killing. We have so much going on that we need to really work on. So you let me know when you know about something, or someone that needs some help and support and willing to speak out and to try to encourage our parents to get behind our children and work with the teachers in the schools, because they really need the help and the support so much.
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having
my wife.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Robin. We really appreciate you, and love both of you guys. We be looking out for you. Love you all go out of the country. I see all y'all's pictures on Facebook. So
yeah, we're well, here's the thing.
Yes.
Our mantra is to live every day serving and supporting God's mission and mankind, and to, of course, treat ourselves well, what God wants us to do, remain healthy in our lifestyle, healthy in our physical being, and emotional and spiritual support. So when we go out to different countries and places and visit locals in other parts of the world, we get a chance to and an opportunity to find how things go on and how things function. We never, ever meet strangers. Real quick story. Easter Sunday, we were up on Mount Adams or Eden Park. And we were there in Cincinnati just looking over. It was a kind of gloomy day. We're always there just being supportive and trying to do affirmations with just being there in the Lord. And we talked to a couple that were retirees from some really major companies in Cincinnati. And Sterling began to tell his story. They exchanged numbers with us. These were CEOs, folks that were from really big companies in Cincinnati. And they just wanted to hear more about what we were doing. They were fascinated by the type of work and his story. And a lot of people will make comments as, oh man, Sterling, I wouldn't share all that. You can't tell everybody your business, but contrary to that, that's why we want to share, because each story that he tells, or rather the story he tells of himself each time, it touches someone, and someone will give us a call later. Hey, can you help me out? I've got a family member. Do you mind?
Yes.
And so now the Lord is pleased that we, or Sterling in particular, is sharing his story.
Yes, the Lord is pleased, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, ma'am.
I will close by saying, don't conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and his perfect and pleasing will. That's from Romans 12:2. That's my scripture. Don't conform to the patterns of the world. Oh, yeah. Yes, so we thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to like and share the program and let everybody know about somebody that knows about Jesus.
Yes, ma'am. Amen.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And you all stay right where you are, and the show is ending, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the program dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. Join us next week for another opportunity to participate in making the world better. So until next week, live your best life from your friends at Straight Talk Live and host Edna Howell-Parrish.